What's up, and welcome back to my channel, y'all. Welcome back to another creepy, spooky story time for y'all today. I hope you guys are excited for Glamourween. You guys know I love Glamourween. I love October. I love some spooky story time. So I got something new for you guys today that happened when I was a little kid. So I hope you guys enjoy it. If you are new to my channel, what's up? My name is Nikki. I tell stories here as well as anything true crime related. You know, spooky, scary, you know, little conspiracy tea. So if you're interested in that, definitely hit that subscribe button so you're notified every single time your girl uploads. And of course, you can follow me on my socials here for some more Nikki in your life. If you are asking who I am, that clearly tells me that you are very, very young. Today, I have emulated one of my most favorite movies of all time. This is usually something that only 90s babies can relate to. The Crow. The Crow is one of my favorite movies because my mom had it playing on repeat when we were kids. My mom really wasn't the type to have you know, limits on us as far as whether we can watch PG-13 versus rated R. It was like, you watch that, but don't get upset if you get nightmares. Like, don't be coming to me because you're the one who chose to watch it. So, you know, it was one of them situations. What makes this movie so special is that it featured and highlighted Bruce Lee's son, Brandon Lee, and he actually died on set of this movie. There's actually a conspiracy about the Lee curse. So I filmed an entirely other video about this supposed curse and conspiracy. If you guys want to check it out, I'll leave it here for you guys, and of course down in the description box below. Before I get into the story, there's going to be a lot of questions that y'all have, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know the answers. It's going to be one of those things where you're like, but why though? And I'm going to be like, I don't know. For those of you guys that have been with me since Jump, y'all know that I'm not originally from here. I'm actually from Dallas. I was born and raised there up until the time that I was 12 years old. And when my mom and I moved here, my mom had a friend that she knew for years. And he was a dude. He actually had a crush on my mom, but like my mom wasn't giving him no play, you know what I'm saying? But he definitely helped us transition with the move from Dallas to Denver. So we moved here, and I had known him and his family since I was very, very little. I think that I met him when I was like 6 or 7 years old. We lived in the middle of nowhere, Big Spring, Texas, bitch. Like, I would be shocketh if anybody commented on my video. It was like, yo, I'm from Big Spring, like I know where that is. Or if you even knew the elementary school that I went to in Big Spring, like I would be fucking impressed. And then he also had family that worked with like inner city kids. So I was going to school and going to this place called Colorado Uplift, okay? James's sister worked for Colorado Uplift. If you guys are from Colorado, bitch, y'all know about Colorado Uplift, okay? Like, it's basically like an inner city program for inner city kids to keep them off the streets and take them to like, you know, games, activities, events, and stuff like that, and keep them occupied so they don't get in trouble on the street. So I got to meet a lot of really, really fun kids. You know, I definitely got along with them really well, and, you know, I fit in perfectly fine. So his entire family lived here. They knew us. They knew where I came from. They knew my mom. They even knew my brother. Like, they had known us from the past. So it was like old family friends, you know what I mean? So I ended up going to their family church. From the outside, everything looked really normal. It seriously looked like an everyday church, something small, not too gaudy. It's definitely not like, you know, a cathedral. I started attending this church, right? And I'm there with one of my childhood friends, which is James's niece. And then James and my mom and, you know, their family or whatever. And we go every Sunday, like clockwork. James is a part of the church staff. So are his nieces and nephews and his family and stuff. Of course, I started getting more involved in the church and in youth group and stuff like that. So they had youth group like throughout the week. I can't even remember what day. It was like Tuesdays or Wednesdays or something like that. And we would go separate and go down into the basement, which they like redid and had like a pool table and stuff down there. When you walked in, it was like a main area where you could stand. It was like a foyer, and then on the left was the main room where they would have their sermons and of course, you know, Sunday church. And down there was like a set of stairs right there that went down into the basement, and that is where, like, you know, the teenagers and stuff had youth group. And then when you went to the right, it almost seemed like an extension of the actual church building. Like they knocked out a wall and they put an entire other room over here, and this was like a really big room, and this is where they would have like big parties and luncheons and brunch and stuff like that. And there was a kitchen, a fully functional kitchen in there. I think that the church was reaching out to people less fortunate if they needed some meals. It almost looked like a cafeteria of a school. That's exactly what it looked like. When I looked at this building from the outside, it looked really normal. But what I didn't take into account, nor did I realize, was that it was fucking huge in the back. As I started going more often, my curious self, I noticed that there was another hallway, and there was a hallway that went straight, and then there was a hallway that kind of like went at a diagonal, and there was a staircase at the end of the diagonal hallway. So there were two different ways that you could go if you decided, like, if you're going towards the cafeteria part, you could take a left, and then there are these two different options that you have. One is a staircase, and one is kind of like, it's not a bridge, but it's like a covered space where it's from one building to another, but it's covered. Makes sense? I definitely decided, bitch, you need to explore. Like, what is this? I used to have to like stay after, because this was my mom's friend. She knew him forever. She would like meet up with us at the church, come pick me up after school, or if we had like volunteer projects at the church and stuff, she would come a little later. So I was always there, and I had a lot of time there at that church. First, I asked my friends at the church that were around my age, maybe a little older, and they told me that those other stairs that led to another hallway, that was actually a school, and it was like K-5 or something like that. It's like an elementary school associated with this church. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. So they start telling me about what is at the end of that bridge. Friends start telling me that this church is connected literally to a haunted house. Look, okay, I was raised in the church, and I had never heard anything about hauntings or even fucking talk about it. So I was shocked that these kids were like, yeah, that part of the church, it leads into another building, which is an actual house, and it's a haunted house, and we don't go over there. And all of them had a united front about the fact that they were not going to go over there. Like, none of them wanted to go over there. They didn't want to see what was over there. They were told not to go over there. It was basically forbidden. Of course, my nosy ass, I'm like, but wait, why? Right? One day after, I think it was like after youth group or something, James was like cleaning up for the night. My mom was going to be on her way to come get me. I had some time to myself, and he basically told me to stay out of trouble, and he'll be done in like 20-30 minutes. Okay, cool. Of course, I take this opportunity to go up those stairs and see what the little school looks like. It was really quiet, and it was almost nightmarish, like the way that it looked. When I got to the second floor, it was a long hallway with a bunch of doors. Started walking down the hallway, and you know, I'm just kind of like walking past these little classrooms, and then I hear a man. I don't know where he's coming from. I don't know what room he was in. He said something along the lines of, come here, don't run. He sounded fucking desperate. Like, please don't run. Please don't run away. Bitch! Like, to this day, I don't know what that meant or what it was, if there was like a real person up there. That's what I heard, and I fucking flipped shit. I turned right around and I fucking ran. My mom picks me up. I don't know what to tell her. I didn't tell her anything because I didn't think she would believe me. And also, I didn't really know for sure what I heard. I was like, did I imagine that? Did I just like freak myself out? You know what I'm saying? Because I did go up there a little freaked out. Like, if you're in a school by yourself and all the lights are off and like Fast forward, I don't know how much time, we had to go from house to house in the neighborhood. We were trying to sell them like this catalog with candies and cookies and candles and stuff like that for the holidays, and you know, kind of doing a fundraiser like, oh, you know, whatever money you donate is going to go to this and this church and things like that. But we had to go from door to door. Look, okay, I can be social when I have the energy, but going house to house, not my jam. So Amber's James's niece, and we kind of like stuck together through this whole thing. We get to about the 4th or 5th house, and you know, Amber and I are going back and forth of like who's gonna give the spiel and who's not, and all of a sudden I had to pee really bad. At this point, we're like halfway done with the houses that we need to visit. It's not too far, and I run back to the church. I go inside, I go to the bathroom, I handle my business. To the right was that hallway that was filled with glass that led into a completely different house. Bitch, wait a minute! The minute that I walk in, everything is hardwood, including the floors, the staircase, everything. To the left of me, it looked like office supplies, like office things. There was even like a few computers, filing cabinets. You could tell that somebody was doing their job there. And then to the right, it was like another little room that had a love seat and then a regular chair and, you know, a little rug and stuff. It was basically like a sitting room. And then there's this staircase. What do you think I did? My fucking crazy ass decides to go up the stairs. I need to know. I need to know what's up with it. Like, what is this place? Like, what are you hiding in here? What is here? What do y'all do here? You know what I mean? Like, I was very curious. And strangely enough, the kitchen was up there. So apparently, like, back in the day, when they built houses, they put the kitchen on the 2nd floor and not on the 1st. So depending, like the 1st floor was majority for like your entertainment and like your living room and stuff like that, but they put your kitchen and your laundry room and stuff like that up on the 2nd floor, and it fucking blew my mind. So I go in there, it's obviously empty. The drawers are like huge in the kitchen, and there's not really much in there. There's hardly any furniture. There are some little miscellaneous things, you know, everywhere, but not anything substantial. Like, obviously nobody's living here. It was just fucking weird. So I see this kitchen and I'm like, what the fuck, right? Towards the back of the kitchen, I see another room, and there's like the washer and dryer in there. Again, empty, like nobody's using it. When I came out of the kitchen, there was a hallway up there on the 2nd floor. But then there was another staircase that led to the 3rd floor. I don't know why. I guess I figured like whatever is on this floor is probably like other bedrooms. I want to know what's up there. I get up there, and this hallway is a hell of a lot shorter than the 2nd hallway, but there was a door on my left and 2 doors on my right. So these were obviously like bedrooms, you know? But on my left, when I looked at that door, I could see a lot of sunlight coming from the bottom of the door. I don't know what drew me to it, but I was like, yeah, let me check this one out before I go and check these other ones, like, and be nosy or whatever. And I will never ever ever forget the vision of what I saw. But the minute that I opened it, all I heard was buzzing. And this was a pretty regular sized room, and it had hardwood floors and white walls, and the windows, like the actual windows, were open, and there was just like a screen on the windows. Y'all, when I tell you, every single wall of that room was filled with fucking flies. I've never seen that amount of flies in my fucking life. Like, you would have thought that there was like something dead in there of how many flies were in there. All over the walls, all over the screen, beach. They were like like some of them were like flying around from wall to wall, bitch, and like there were so many of them. And I opened that door, I looked around, I was like, what the fuck? And it took me like a good 5-10 seconds to really process, like, this room is filled with flies. This room is legitimately, like, not even like trying to emphasize or go overboard or, you know, make things crazier than it needs to be. This room is filled with motherfucking flies. I hate flies. It was so nasty. Bitch, I fucking run. I close that door. I fucking run. I've seen what I have to see. I gotta go. Like, when I see that many flies, that means something dead has to be in the vicinity. I was afraid that I was gonna come across some dead body or something. Like, I didn't know, right? Because, like, what the fuck? I go all the way to the first floor. I run across that little bridge thing. I get back into the church. I run out of the front doors of the church. I go fucking flying down the street to go find Amber and James because I'm scared. Like, I don't know what it is that I just saw. Amber has already gone to like 2-3 other houses since I've been gone, and so she's almost done. So we had to go to one other house by the time she saw me again, and she knew that I had taken a while. It was definitely a lot more time than it would have taken had I just gone to the bathroom. So when I got back, she was, you know, definitely looking at me sideways, and she was like, damn girl, like, what happened? Wait, hold on. And so, you know, she's looking at me and she's like, Nikki, what's the matter? Like, what happened? So I finally like kind of get shit together, and I look at her and I was like, you know the house that's connected to the church, right? And she was like, yeah. She was like, Mrs. So-and-so's house. And apparently this was like the founder of the church. And she was like, yeah, that's Mrs. So-and-so's house. I was like, have you ever been over there? And she was like, and immediately she was like, a long time ago. She was like, but none of us like going in there. And I was like, Mrs. So-and-so, I guess like the old lady that used to live there, she got like transferred to like a elderly home, but the church still owned her home. So they kept everything as it was. It just freaked us out, so we don't go over there. Why, Nikki? And I was like, see what had happened was, so of course I start spilling all the tea, and I'm like, okay, you know, I went to the bathroom. I got a little curious. I went up that hallway. She was like, you went up there by yourself? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, did you hear anything? And I was like, I thought I did, but like, I think that I was like, maybe imagining it, like, you know, it wasn't really that loud. Like, I think I just got scared. And she was like, you cannot be going up there by yourself. Like, creepy shit happens up there. And I was like, oh. So, you know, she tells me about that, and I was like, oh, okay. She was like, okay, and then, so I obviously tell her that I crossed the little bridge thing. I went into that old lady's house. And I was like, yeah, you know, I was just curious, and I went into the house, and literally she stopped walking and she's looking at me and she was like, where else did you go? I knew that whatever answer I was going to give her was going to be wrong, because just the fact that I went into that area was like freaking her out. So she was like, you know, like, where else did you go? Me being me, I just want somebody to relate to me. So I was like, well, you know, I went to the second floor. And she's like, uh-huh. And I was like, and I saw the kitchen in there. She was like, yeah, you know, they had the kitchens on the second floor back in the day. And I was like, yeah. And so she's sitting there looking at me, and I was like, and then I went to the third floor. She fucking went pale. And she was like, you did what? She goes, why? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I saw another set of stairs. I wanted to know what was there. So I went up there, you know. We're having this convo, and all of a sudden, James's funky ass, I guess he can tell that we're having kind of a heated conversation. So he comes up to us and he was like, ladies, is everything okay? You guys need help with your next house, da-da-da. And he's like a grown-ass man, right? So, and this is Amber's uncle. So Amber looks over at him and she was like, uncle, she was like, can you tell Nikki about the house at the church? He was like, why are you wondering about the house at the church? And I was like, so I'm looking at Amber and I'm like, why the fuck you gotta fucking snitch on me? Like, what the fuck? And so, you know, I'm like, like I was just, you know, wondering or whatever. Yo, she snitched me out so fucking bad, y'all. Like, she told all my motherfucking business. And she was like, yeah, Nikki just said she went over there and she went to the 3rd floor, uncle. And like, she went up there and like, you know, she probably seen some things. It was like, why? So like, I got tired of explaining myself like, bitch, cause I'm nosy. I'm nosy. I am nosy. Like, you can't just have a whole house and tell me not to go in there. I'm gonna go in there. Like, what you mean? He was like, okay, well, you know, what happened? Like, what are your questions? So I started at the beginning. I was like, yeah, you know, I saw the 1st floor. Like, that's crazy. I saw like the little office area. He was like, yeah. So he tells me that the secretary of the church that deals with like all of the administrative work, she works in that 1st floor of the house. And he was like, yeah, you know, that's why you see a computer there and filing cabinets and stuff like that, because that's where she works out of. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, I went to the 2nd floor. And he was like, yeah. So, you know, he starts talking to me about the history of the house and how they used to build them back in the day. And then I was like, well, I went to the 3rd floor. All of a sudden, bitch, Amber looks at her Theo and she goes, she found the fly room. I'm sorry, I found what? Like, what did you just say? You said, she said, she found the fly room. You went to the 3rd floor and you found like a weird room, huh? And I was like, yeah. So the minute she says that, I'm like, yeah, I did. And like, it was really fucking weird. The minute I opened the door, it was like flies everywhere and they were all over the walls and they were all over the screens and like the windows were open and like this, that, and the third. And it was so weird, you know, like maybe we should go clean it out. Like, I was really concerned, I guess. And I was like, you know, maybe there's something in there. Like, you know what I mean? James stayed hella calm, which is a red fucking flag. He told me this BS story that the owners of the house, they basically took care of the flies and that he knew that the fly room was there. Everybody knew that the fly room was there. And nobody was doing anything about the fly room because they said, he was like telling me that they were resourceful and that the flies were used for something in regards to like the land. And I don't remember exactly how he put it, but he definitely told me that everybody fucking knew about the fly room. Like, they legitimately called it the fly room. Obviously, me being the little weird ass kid that I was like always into supernatural and like horror and like scary shit. So I knew that something was going on like with this house and like what they were willing to tell me. So one night came around, we had like a youth night, and so we had to like go down into the basement. It was kind of like a little party for us. My crush ended up getting picked up a little bit earlier by his mom, so after he left, I had about an hour and a half until my mom would get there. So I was really bored, I was not entertained at all, and I just kind of lost interest in the entire thing because, you know, my man's left. So you didn't really have to tell anybody. They just kind of, you know, assumed that you were going to go to the bathroom. So I like slipped out of the youth room. I go upstairs on the main level. I do go to the bathroom. And then as soon as I step out of the bathroom, I swear it was like this house was calling me. And this time it's nighttime and everything is dark. So I turned on the light of the 1st floor where like the little office was, and everything is the same, and I'm just kind of like looking around and I'm like, you know, like I was just occupying myself. I didn't know what I was doing. I just did it. There was like a staircase right there on the 1st floor and it was going like down, and it just piqued my interest and I was like, all right, let's go down here, see what's up with it. So I head downstairs. All of a sudden, I'm in a basement, and it's very clearly a basement, and there are boxes everywhere, and like more filing cabinets, and like just like shit everywhere, right? There's a switch right at the bottom of the staircase, so I flip that on, everything comes on. It's really not that scary once the lights were on. It just kind of looked like a library sort of, because they had so many papers and files and books and stuff down there, and it was a really big basement. So I'm a book nerd. I love books. So, you know, I start going through the little files, and I start going through shelf by shelf, and oh, like they have this book and that book, and wow, okay. And a lot of it I had never heard of before, and I'm just kind of walking through there leisurely, like, you know, no big deal. And I didn't feel anything weird or anything like that. I just thought that I was discovering some really cool shit. And there was this room off to the left. This room was full of nothing but filing cabinets. Nothing but. And they're like these like fucking 5-6 foot filing cabinets with different drawers. And they're literally filling the entire room up. And then I noticed that on the back of the wall, there was this huge door on it, you guys. And there was legitimately like a combination lock on the front of this huge ass door, and it's fucking big, and it's black and gold and like bronze. It literally looked like an old school safe. Partially, this thing was fucking open. Like legitimately, it was like open like this much, and there was a filing cabinet that was right up against the door that was preventing it from like opening up all the way, bitch. You know, me and my mama, you know, we're a little poor. We could use a little extra coins. And I looked at that and I was like, immediately I was like, that's a safe. Like, what the fuck, that's a safe. And I saw that the safe was open. It was open, right? I am not proud of it. I am not proud of it. I start working towards moving the filing cabinets from in front of that safe door so that I could open it. And I was struggling because these filing cabinets were huge. They were old and they were very, very heavy. So like, I'm like trying to, you know, jimmy them and like kind of, I moved one of them just fine. But the one that was directly in front of the safe was like, it almost seemed like it was bolted to the ground. I could not get it to move. Like, no matter how much I tried. In my fucking teenage mind, I was like, maybe there's gold in there. Like, maybe like I for real treated this like the real life Goonies, bitch. Like, I really thought that I was coming up on some fucking treasure. All of a sudden, I heard my mom's friend James, and he was upstairs and he was calling for me. And he was like, you could tell he was freaking out. And he was like, Nikki, Nikki, are you in here? Nikki, answer me. I immediately start like putting stuff back and like papers and stuff. And I'm like, oh shit. I run up the stairs. I get to the first floor. He's already like halfway up to the second floor. And I'm like, hey, I'm right here. And he like looks down the stairs and he was like, what are you doing in here? Y'all, I straight up lied. And I was like, I heard you in here. I was in the bathroom. Like, I came in here because I heard you yelling my name. Like, what are you doing in here? You could tell he was like, nah, you lying. He knew I was lying. He looked at me. He was like, Nikki, you cannot come in here by yourself anymore. And I was like, I maintain my innocence, okay? I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't come in here by myself on my own accord, okay, James? I came in here because you were calling for me. I was in the bathroom, like I said. He was like, okay, Nikki. He was like, what I'm telling you is that you cannot be in here by yourself going forward. Do you understand? And I was like, yeah, I get it. Like, I'm not allowed in here. That's fine. So I end up getting picked up by my mom like a few minutes later. And this house is heavily, heavily on my mind. We ended up having like a holiday or something right after that where like our families had to be together. And her grandmother was going to this church as well, and she started telling Amber and I that the church that we went to was in fact haunted, that she definitely believed in demons and ghosts and spirits and stuff like that. And she was like, oh yeah, that house that's connected to the church, it's like, it's very much haunted. She told us that it was haunted by an older lady who died there, and she was lonely. She was without her husband. She found out that her husband had had an affair, and that she was trying to work on the legalities of their estate after the husband died. And she was like obsessed with it, and she like went to her grave never getting any of the benefits that she was that she was supposed to have gotten because her husband like went a roundabout way legally, and so she died by herself and not being able to pay her bills and stuff. Basically, in a nutshell, Amber's grandma told us that this old lady that died in this house was like scorned, and she was mad and angry, and she was like looking for answers. I felt that energy when I was in that house, like why I was so curious and why I wanted to know so much. And I was going through these filing cabinets, and like I was so dead set on trying to get in that safe, and I couldn't understand why, bitch. I felt like I was on a mission in that house. Like I needed to find these answers, and I didn't know why. I was so dead set on like trying to get into that safe and trying to find keys to those drawers in that filing cabinet. And it was so weird. In any other motherfucking circumstance, if you would have asked me to go down into a basement of any house, I'd have said hell to the no. Like, what? Are you serious? But this one, it was weird, beach. It was real weird. That house creeps me out to this day. I don't know why it's still standing. I don't know why they had a fly room, bitch. Everybody knew about the fly room. Everybody knew about the fly room. Why? Why did nobody try to get rid of the flies? Where were the flies coming from? I don't know. I have a ton of questions. But that was my creepy experience with what I presume to be a haunted house. That is my story for today's Glamourween episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely check out my other video where I go over The Crow, the movie, and Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee's son, his story. I think you guys would really find it interesting. Thank y'all so much for coming to chill with your girl for Glamourween. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed your fine self. If you did, please show that like button some love, and of course subscribe if you're not a part of my glam fam already. I would love to have you. I love you so much, and I will see your fine ass in my next video. Peace out, y'all.